Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Anindita Goswami, and if you're someone who wants to improve your English grammar without feeling like you're in school again, so you're in the right place. Today, we are going to talk about something super important: active and passive voice. And to make it fun, I'll walk you through a short story. You will learn how to identify active and passive voice and when to use which without getting confused. Okay, so let's start with the basics. In active voice, the subject does the action, and in passive voice, the subject receives the action. So if I take an example, so if in I have to give this sentence in active voice, the chef cooked the meal. So the subject is chef. What did he do, or what was his action, or what is his action? So he cooked his meal, cooked the meal. So that's the action part, and chef is the subject. If I have to put it in a passive voice, the meal, so the objective part or the action part will come on the other side. It will be reversed. The meal was cooked by the chef. Okay, now the subject will go towards the end. So you can see the difference. The action remains the same, but the focus will shift. Okay, the focus of the subject will shift now. Now, why it matters, or why should you care about where or how to use an active voice or a passive voice? So, in everyday conversation and writing, active voice is clearer and stronger. So, it is more advisable to use active voice. But in formal writing, or when the doer is unknown or unimportant and the action is more important, the focus is on the action part. So, passive voice makes more sense. For example, a mistake was made. So, we do not know or don't know who made the mistake, but a mistake has happened and we need to rectify that in the context of some social awareness or something. So here we are focusing on the mistake part, so or the action part. We will put it in a passive voice. A mistake was made. Likewise, if I have to tell my boss that the report was sent to you last evening, now who sent the report, that is not important. Whether I sent, my another colleague sent, my senior, my junior, somebody sent that report, say to a higher authority, but the report was sent. So we are shifting our focus on the matter that the report was sent. Okay, so that the work could have been expedited, something like that. It is not important who sent. The subject is not important here, like that. Okay, so let us dive into a story. For that, I need to share my Word documents so that I can also share the story. I'll just copy paste the story there. Just a second. I believe it looks better. So first, I will tell you a short story using the active voice, and then we will rewrite or reread it in passive voice. Okay. Let me put the story here. I think that's readable. So yesterday, Rita baked a chocolate cake. She decorated it with whipped cream. So you can see in every active voice, the subject comes first. She decorated. Then her brother ate half of it, and half of it before the guests arrived. Later, their mom scolded him for being greedy. Finally, Rita served the rest of the cake to the guests. Simple sentences in active voice. We have the subject first, then we have the action word, actions later, the word and the rest of the part of the sentence. Very simple. Okay. Okay, let me delete these drawings and let me scroll down a little bit so that I can paste the next story. Now, if we have to rewrite or reread this in passive voice, let us put it that way. So, Rita baked a chocolate cake. Now, what was that matter or the action? That chocolate cake was baked by Rita yesterday. It could be put in that way. So, maybe I'll put each sentence, after each sentence, I'll put it this way, okay? Chocolate cake. So, yesterday, okay. So, a chocolate cake, maybe a chocolate cake was baked by Rita, comma, yesterday. I think so that's how it should look like. Or rather, the comma is not required. That's it. She decorated it with whipped cream. So instead, we can put it like this. It was decorated with whipped cream. That's it. So by her, it is again not required even to replace she. It was decorated with whipped cream. I'm just putting it in bracket. You can write it or you can avoid this. By her to replace she. Then her brother ate half of it before the guests arrived. So half of it was eaten by her brother before the guests arrived. Half of it was eaten by her brother before the guests arrived. This. Sorry. Later, their mom scolded him for being greedy. So he was scolded by their mom for being greedy. For being greedy. So let me scroll down a little bit to go to the next sentence. So finally, Rita served the rest of the cake to the guests. So now it can be converted into passive voice by writing, the rest of the cake was served to the guests by Rita. To the guests by Rita. Right? So see, you can understand the shift. In passive voice, the focus is more on the action or the object receiving the action instead of who did it, instead of the subject. The sentences sound more formal and a bit distant. Fine, I think that gives you enough clarity. Now, when to use active voice or passive voice? That's the question lingering in your mind. Well, here is the golden rule. Use active voice when you want to keep your message clear, direct, and engaging. Like when you're writing emails, you're giving presentations, or everyday speech, use active voice. You can use passive voice when the doer is unknown or unimportant, or when you want to sound formal, like in the reports, news articles, or official notes, right? So I had given one example earlier. I'll repeat that. So in the active voice, you can say, I submitted the report yesterday. In the passive voice, if the focus is on the report submission, the report was submitted yesterday. Who reported is not important. So if you remember in the earlier sentence where I was just writing by her, so who did that is not important, but I again put it in the bracket. If you want, you can, or otherwise you can avoid writing. To replace she cut the cake, I had written by her in comma. So that's not, sorry, in brackets. So that is, you can avoid even uttering her name. Okay. So who did it is not important. What was done, that is important. Okay. Again, few things you need to remember. In active voice, subject does the verb. In a passive voice, object receives the verb. Okay. So object receives the action. So watch for be verbs and the past participle in passive voice, like is, was, were, has been. So when you're using these kind of words, so the verb will be followed by like eaten, cooked, made, etc. So we will again discuss these rules later on, but remember how you're using them. If you're writing is or was, then eaten. For cook, it should be cooked, made, like that. So not every sentence needs to be passive again. So use it wisely. Okay. So if I ask you, I just put a random sentence here. The email was sent by me. Is it active or passive? Okay, since nobody is here to reply back, so I'm just answering. It is passive voice. So it's your turn. You can rewrite the active sentence in passive voice. You can write down in the comment section. The manager approved the leave application. The manager approved the leave application. How you will write it in the passive voice, please drop your answer in the comment section. I will reply to check if you got it right or not. Okay. So if that helped you understand how active and passive voice work, remember that also. So if you have enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more adult friendly English tips, and don't forget to share it with someone learning English. So I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye bye.